Hello everyone! In this video, we will going to talk about the Vietnamese language. We are going to pronounce all the letters in the Vietnamese alphabet. The Vietnamese alphabet has 29 letters, but the English alphabet has 26 letters. However, there are some letters in English that do not exist in Vietnamese, such as F, J, W, and Z. So how come Vietnamese has still more letters? It is because of the vowels. English has only 5 vowels, but Vietnamese has 12 vowels. Let's start to pronounce first all the Vietnamese consonants.
B, C, D, D, G, H, K, L, M, N, P, Q, R, S, T, V, X.
Now we will pronounce the Vietnamese vowels properly.
A, E, I, O, U, I.
In Vietnamese, consonants are classified into 22 initial consonants and 6 final consonants according to the positions of the consonant in a word. Let me show you the table of the Vietnamese initial consonants as well as the final consonants, although they are never pronounced or heard. In Vietnamese language, each cluster is composed of 2 to 3 consonants and every cluster has a distinct pronunciation. Let's pronounce all the consonant clusters.
Ch, ch. This word means to give. Ch, a, ja. Ch, a, ja. This word means father. Ch, and then the vowel is a, ch, a, ja, ja. Now, if you forget how to pronounce some of the Vietnamese vowel, then please check out my other video about the Vietnamese alphabet. The next consonant clusters is zh, zh. This word means bamboo. Zh, the vowel is e, zh, e, j, j. Next is h, h. This word means dry. H, the vowel is o, h, o, ho, ho. Next is t, t. This word means autumn. T, u, to, to. Next we have w, w. This consonant cluster represents the sound of the letter W that doesn't exist in the Vietnamese alphabet. W. This word means countryside. W, e, we, we. F, f. This consonant cluster represents the sound of the letter F. Do you know how to pronounce this word? F, a, fa, fa. Nhờ, nhờ. This word means grape. Nhờ, o, nho, nho. Z, z. This consonant cluster represents the sound of the letter J and Z. This word means to raise. Z, z, z. Next we have ng, ng. This word means corn. Ngô, ngờ, ô, ngô, ngô. Next we have ngờ, ngờ. This word means to listen. Ngờ, nghe, ngờ, nghe. Actually, the previous two consonant clusters that you just learned has the exact same pronunciation of ng, ng. But why do we have two different ones? It's actually because of the rules. So in the Vietnamese writing rules, ng with no H go with the vowels a, o, u, and ng with an H go with the vowels e, and e. Okay, so if you hear the word nghe, nghe, which way is the correct way to write it? Yes, it is ng without an H. Okay, nghe. And next we have the consonant cluster g, g. G has the exact same pronunciation with the letter G in the Vietnamese alphabet, but they are written differently because of the same rules. G with no H go with the vowels a, o, u, and then G with an H go with the vowels e, and e. Okay, so when you hear the word ghe, ghe, which way is the correct way to write it? G with an H. Okay, ghe. Now let's quickly review the 11 consonant clusters that we learned today. Ch, tr, kh, th, qu, ph, nhờ, giờ, g, ngờ, ngờ. And that's
Now, the basic word order of Vietnamese is the same as the English language. I have an example here.
I know Vietnamese. In Vietnamese, we say mình biết tiếng Việt.
As you can see, both sentences are in the same word order of subject, word, and object, or SVO for short. Let's take a look at more examples.
Bạn biết người đó. You know that person. Ảnh biết phim này. He knows this movie.
You may have noticed that unlike English, the verb form stays the same when you talk about other people.
So the verb know, as in I know, you know, he, she knows, remains the same as biết.
Now what if there are two consecutive verbs that there are in the same sentence? Here are some examples.
Cổ thích ăn táo. She likes to eat apples. Họ thích chơi game. They like playing games. Mình biết nói tiếng Việt. I know how to speak Vietnamese. When there are two consecutive verbs, like in these three sentences, in English we say like to eat, like playing, and know how to speak. But in Vietnamese, we simply say like eat, thích ăn, like play, thích chơi, and know speak, biết nói. Now let's try to make some Vietnamese sentences. How do you say I like you in Vietnamese? Mình thích bạn. Mình thích bạn. And how do you say she wants to drink water? Cô muốn uống nước. Cô muốn uống nước. And lastly, how do you say he knows how to cook curry? Anh biết nấu cà ri.
The good news is, in Vietnamese, you don't need to conjugate the verb like in English or in some other languages. You only need to remember one version of the verb and some words that indicates the tenses. Easy, right? Now let's talk about the present tense first. Tôi học. Tôi means I. Học means to study. I study. Tôi học. In present tense, you don't need to change or add anything to the verb. Just keep it as it is. In present continuous tense, we have the word đang. That will be placed before the verb to indicate an action that is happening right now. Đang. I am studying. Tôi đang học. Tôi đang học. The negative expression of this, I am not studying. Tôi đang không học. Tôi đang không học. In the past tense, we have the word đã, that means did. Đã. I studied. Tôi đã học. Tôi đã học. The negative expression of this is I did not study. Tôi đã không học. Tôi đã không học. Another word that also indicates the past is rồi. That means already. I studied already. Tôi học rồi. Tôi học rồi. The word that indicates the past but in a negative form is chưa. Not yet. Chưa. I haven't studied. Tôi chưa học. Tôi chưa học. In the future tense, we have sẽ, that means will. Sẽ. I will study. Tôi sẽ học. Tôi sẽ học. The negative expression of this is I will not study. Tôi sẽ không học. Tôi sẽ không học. Another word for future tense is sắp. That means soon. Tôi sắp học. I will study soon. Tôi sắp học. In summary, for the present continuous tense, we have the word đang. For the past tense, we have đã, rồi, chưa. And for the future tense, we have sẽ, sắp. Now let's practice the tenses with another verb. Viết, that means to write. Viết. I write is tôi viết. Tôi viết. How do you say I am writing? Tôi đang viết. Tôi đang viết. How do you say I wrote? Tôi đã viết. Tôi đã viết. Or another way to say it is Tôi viết rồi. I wrote already. Tôi viết rồi. And how about the future tense? I will write. Tôi sẽ viết. Tôi sẽ viết.
I would like to introduce to you the 5 diacritical marks of Vietnamese. The diacritical mark changes the tone of the word. There are some further explanations and examples given by a native speaker.
So, what is tone? In many languages which do not have tones, if you pronounce a word, let's say, ban with low tone or high tone, it may sound strange, but it doesn't change the meaning of the word. But not in Vietnamese. Because Vietnamese is a tonal language as Thai or Chinese. Each syllable or each word carries a certain tone, and if you change its tone, you change its meaning too. Mispronouncing tones can cause non-understanding, misunderstanding, or even funny and embarrassing situations. Usually, if your mother tongue is a non-tonal language, you will have to struggle to follow Vietnamese tones. Today, I'm here to encourage you to learn Vietnamese tones with me, so don't worry. They can be difficult at the beginning, but you will get familiar with them soon, I'm sure. In general, tone in Vietnamese is thanh or thanh điệu. There are 6 tones in Vietnamese represented by 5 signs, as we're going to discuss right now. The first tone is thanh ngang. It is a flat and high-level tone. This is the only tone not represented by any sign in spelling. So if you see a word without a sign of tone, you know that word carries the first tone. The second tone, thanh huyền, on the contrary, is a flat but low-level tone. It is represented by a small line going down. Now let's practice these 2 tones. I will read them 3 times. Ma, 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 ma. It's just a piece of cake, isn't it? The third tone is thanh ngã. It's a non-flat, high, falling, raising tone. It is represented by a sign like that. The fourth tone, thanh hỏi, on the contrary, is a non-flat but low, falling, raising tone. It is represented by a small question mark. Now let's practice these 2 tones. I will read them 3 times. Mã, 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 mã. In the diagram, you can see there is a pause when you pronounce the third tone. Mã. Okay? It's like when you make the sound ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah, make the same stop when you pronounce the third tone. One more time. Mã. Okay. In Southern accent, we unify the 2 tones. So, mã and mã are pronounced identically. Some people say that Southern people are lazy because they try to make everything simpler. As you see, pronouncing the third tone costs quite a lot of energy, so just replace it by the fourth tone. However, as the stage of learning, I recommend you to learn the full set of 6 tones, and then you can choose to speak northern or southern accent later on. The fifth tone is thanh sắc. It's a non-flat and high raising tone. It is represented by a small line going up. The sixth tone, thanh nặng, on the contrary, is a non-flat but low falling tone. It is represented by a small dot below. Now let's practice these two tones. I will read them 3 times. Má, mạ, má, mạ, má, mạ. Really good. The mistake most learners make when pronouncing these two tones is their fifth tone is not high enough, and vice versa, their sixth tone is not low enough. I know it's difficult to reach a really high ma and then really low ma. It simply takes time and effort, so if you can't make it right now, please don't be frustrated. One more thing, when distributed in a syllable which ends with final sounds, these two tones will become fairly short and steep. Let's compare. Man, mát, ráng, rát, tống, tóc. Do you see how they changed? Now let's review the pronunciation of these 6 tones, and we read them 3 times. Ma, mà, mã, mã, má, mạ, ma, mà, mã, mã, má, mạ, ma, mà, mã, mã, má, mạ. Very good. About their spelling, as I already mentioned, first tone doesn't have its own sign. Then second, third, fourth, and fifth are above the main vowel of the word, and the sixth tone is below the main vowel. Okay, so that's what you need to know about Vietnamese tonal system. Please watch it several times and don't miss the bonus lesson in which I will help you to practice more in Vietnamese 6 tones.
Vietnamese vowels are all pronounced with an inherent tone. Tones differ in pitch, length, contour, melody, intensity, and phonation. Do you know how to describe the things around you in Vietnamese? We will going to talk about some common adjectives and their common opposite in Vietnamese which you can use in describing things or objects.
Number 1, to, to, meaning big, large, or loud. Nhỏ, nhỏ, meaning small or low in terms of sound. For example, mình muốn một cái túi vừa phải, không to không nhỏ. Mình muốn một cái túi vừa phải, không to không nhỏ. Mình muốn một cái túi vừa phải, không to không nhỏ. I want a moderate bag, not big, not small. Cao, cao, meaning tall or high. Thấp, thấp, meaning short or low in height. For example, mình khá là cao, còn chị gái mình hơi thấp. Mình khá là cao, còn chị gái mình hơi thấp. Mình khá là cao, còn chị gái mình hơi thấp. I'm quite tall and my older sister is a bit short.
We have learned in the overview about Vietnamese grammar that it has the same subject, verb, and object or SVO sentence structure as English. The grammar of Vietnamese nouns is plain and simple. There is no singular and plural form. Pen in two pen has the same form as pen in one pen. No adding of suffix s or so whatever, but we can make noun into plural form.
The most common ways to turn a noun to a plural form is to put the word những before the noun, okay? For example, if you want to say a pen in Vietnamese is cái bút, and hence is những cái bút. The second word would be, I think the second common word would be các, okay? Các, dấu sắc, so we have to go up and we have to be a little bit strong. Các we can use with people, for example, các bạn means you all. Các bạn, for example, xin chào các bạn, that means hello or hi guys or hi there, xin chào các bạn. Now let's talk about another word for things that have two, for example, eyes, ears, or hands. We use đôi. For example, đôi mắt means eyes. Alright, another word for plural, we can use mấy, dấu sắc, okay? Mấy here means a few or some. Mấy, for example, mấy thứ means a few things or some things. Mấy thứ. The last word that I want to introduce to you is một số. Một số here also means a few or some or several, okay? Một số. For example, the same with mấy, we also can use một số for days, weeks, months, and years. Một số ngày.
Now, we'll talk about the aspirated and unaspirated stops of Vietnamese. In Vietnamese, the distinction between aspirated and unaspirated stops is important. The sounds represented by the letters C, K, and T are unaspirated, and because they occur in positions where English unaspirated stops do not occur, they are hard to distinguish. To Americans, the Vietnamese K and C will sound like G, as in get, and T will sound like D, as in dog. Vietnamese has only one aspirated sound. It sounds instead as though there were a long H after it. That's it for this video. Come on!